Meeting to order. Any special intentions? Councilman Segura?
Hello? Hey, we go. Thank y'all. Yes, I would like to take a moment to offer to keep in our prayers the mother of our IT director, Jay Sprague. Wyone Sprague passed away, and I understand the passing of parents, and so I want to keep him in my prayers because my mother will be not far behind, and I keep that in my prayers also. So, thank you.
Anybody else have special intentions? Okay, if you will, Councilmember Reyno, if you'd lead us in prayer.
Let us bow our heads and ask for God's blessings. Father in heaven, creator of all and source of all goodness and love, please look kindly upon us and receive our heartfelt gratitude in this time of giving thanks. Thank you for all the graces and blessings you have bestowed upon us, spiritual and temporal, our faith and religious heritage, our food and our shelter, our health, the loved ones we have, and the love we have with each of them, and our families and friends. Dear Father, in your infinite generosity, please grant us continued graces and blessings throughout our life. This we ask in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Councilmember DeFrancis, if you'd lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum this evening. Councilman Carroll and Councilman Klein are absent tonight. In accordance with Council Resolution Number B14550, please be advised that all cellular telephones, pagers, beepers, and other devices of this nature must be deactivated or silenced throughout the council meeting.
Okay, today I'm acting president of the council, and I have a little statement I want to make. Before starting today's council agenda, I wish to make a few comments regarding decorum. These comments are not directed to any particular person, but I mention them strictly because it's a manner in which I want to chair this meeting. Persons in the audience should not cheer, clap, yell out comments before, after, during public statements. If you would like to share your thoughts, simply put your name on the list, and then we'll review the list, of course, and we'll have everybody come up, and they can come to the microphone and give their statements of what their thoughts are. So place your name on a sign-in sheet. If you intend to address the council, I ask that you be polite, you refrain from making negative public comments about other persons, and no cursing or raising voices in anger. Also, please restrict comments promoting political campaigns and private businesses. Those actions are merely inappropriate and create a hostile environment that is not conducive to producing at our council meetings. I intend to conduct civil meetings. If necessary, I will admonish the speakers when they step out of bounds, and we don't want to have to go there if we don't have to. These meetings have thousands of viewers. Let's conduct ourselves in a dignified manner and keep decorum, and I thank you in advance for your cooperation. Thank you. Council Clerk.
Yes, sir. Tonight, we will move on to the consent agenda. Item 1 is approval of minutes, the special session of October 30th, 2017, and the regular council meeting of November 2nd, 2017. Item 2 is approval of alcoholic beverage permit applications. We have none. Item 3 is approval of bingo and public gathering applications. We have none. Item 4 is correspondence, reports from the mayor, CAO, or department heads.
Mayor's on.
Mayor's on.
Thank you, Council Chairman. And with living with what you have said, living by those rules, I totally agree. I've asked for that before, and I appreciate the leadership of you to actually do that. My mayor's comments this evening, though, will be kind of like responding to what happened at the last council meeting. And it won't come from me, although this individual works for me and works for 7 of you all. It's Ms. Lee Roussel, our city attorney. In the city government, only one department works for both the mayor's office and the city council. So I feel that it's important that our attorney, not just mine, so the public knows that, my attorney and the 7 of you all have a response. So from the mayor's office, the comments tonight are coming from our attorney, Ms. Lee Roussel.
Ms. Roussel, if you will, just be brief and to the point. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President, I will. And thank you, Mayor Zahn. I appreciate the opportunity to make these comments that I had hoped to make at the last meeting. I apologize that a certain council member's wife has hijacked these meetings at the end in an effort to make a political mountain out of a molehill. The issue is not anything I said when she secretly recorded me in my private office in City Hall. The issue really is her behavior and her actions against me and other city employees. She uses her position as the councilperson's wife to harass, threaten, bully, and intimidate me and other city employees. This harassment is not limited to these walls in the council chambers and to twice a month, 3 minutes at a time. It's happening outside of these walls. She has harassed city employees, code enforcement employees. There have been complaints, and I want the harassment to stop. I'm asking for the harassment to stop. I take great pride in what I do for the city of Kenner, and I believe that this councilperson's wife is trying to put forth a lie that there's some division or dysfunction in Mayor Zahn's administration, and there simply isn't. We take great pride in what we do. We all get along, we support each other, we meet with each other. I think that she's trying to cast doubt and disfavorable light on the city administration. She's caused the city to spend time and resources because we have to react to these shenanigans and these antics. The truth is that we all know that these meetings are for the purpose of city business, but the council rules do allow someone to get up and take the podium, and I'm in favor of that their ability is in fact in the council rules to take the podium and address this council. But grandstanding, harassing, threatening, and attempting to intimidate me or this administration or any city employees should never be allowed. It should not be permitted. I ask this council, I implore this council to please take control of decorum in these meetings. It's not right. It needs to stop. Hopefully the grandstanding will stop. We can move on to city business, and that's all I have to say. Thank you very much, council, and thank you, Mayor, for yielding your section of the agenda to me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Roussel. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Item 5 is acceptance and rejection of bids requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. We have none. Item 6 is change orders requiring an expenditure of less than $5,000. We have none. Item 7 is acceptance of committee findings for final passage. We have none. Item 8 is re-subdivision ordinances for final passage, and we have none. Tonight, that will conclude the consent agenda. I have a motion by Councilmember DeFrances, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot on the consent agenda. Council members, if you could, please vote. Y'all voting?
It's not working.
If I could, just orally vote for me, please.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Under item 9 is public hearings for final passage. Item 9A is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 12,307, an ordinance repealing and restating ordinances 9325, 10,834, and 10,915 to provide for the dedication of funds received from the sale of city-owned movable property and immovable property, providing for related matters. Mr. Chairman, we received a request to indefinitely defer this item tonight. I believe I have a motion by Councilmember Segura, second by Councilmember DeFrances on an indefinite deferral. Council members, please vote.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 5-0 for an indefinite deferral. Item 9B is a public hearing regarding summary ordinance number 12,311, an ordinance accepting federal grant funding with the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development for the Kenner Levee Trailhead expansion at LaSalle's Landing. I have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, seconded by Councilmember DeFrances, to open the public hearing. Council members, please vote.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 5-0 to open your public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council tonight?
Anybody on this matter? Nobody wishing to do so?
Hearing no discussion, I have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, second by Councilmember DeFrances, to close the public hearing this evening. Council members, please vote on closing your hearing.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 5-0 to close your hearing. At this time, I have a motion by Councilmember Wilmot, seconded by Councilmember DeFrances for approval. Is there any council discussion tonight? Hearing none, council members, please vote.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, motion passes 5-0. Item 10 is opening of bids. We have none. Item 11 is reclassification of zoning for final passage. We have none. Item 12 is other ordinances for final passage. Item 12A is summary ordinance number 12,308, an ordinance recreating the Department of Kenner Television in accordance with Section 4.32 of the city charter and further designating the functions of the department and department head. I have a motion by Councilmember Segure, seconded by Councilmember Klein. Is there any council discussion? Councilmember Reyno, you have the floor.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you're correct. I have a motion by Councilmember Segure, seconded by Councilmember DeFrances. I apologize. Councilmember Reyno, you have the floor. Oh, I'm so,
Yeah.
yes.
Councilman Segura,
Councilman
yeah, he
Segura,
gets
you
the
have the
right to
floor.
open.
I guess,
The light was on. I'm sorry.
okay,
Forgive me tonight.
no problem. And to get this started, I would first like to yield to the mayor or the CAO, deputy CAO, to give some explanation.
Thank you. I think we could all speak to this. I think we're all fairly passionate about this topic. You guys were kind enough in the summer when we put the budget together to give us the opportunity to have internal audit and compliance functions. So what we've been doing since July is we've been basically auditing every single department. And it's not just about, catching bad guys doing bad stuff. It's actually looking at the method by which each department functions and make a determination as to whether we have it operating in its most efficient capacity. One of the ones that we spotted early on was the fact that we have KTV mixed in with IT, and those are two completely separate subjects. So what we have right now is IT with the director of IT, who is supervising a totally, wholly different function in a different location, KTV, for which if he were here tonight, he would tell you he knows nothing. And so he relies upon the two employees that we have in that department. The timing of this coincidentally comes along with one of the people in that department announcing his retirement. That was obviously one of our issues going on. This is not a big department. We did not want to add money to this department or personnel to this department, but with the retirement of one of the two people in the department, we're in a position now to actually make that move. So just to kind of give you an idea of what we would be doing, there are two employees that operate KTV, and those two employees' salaries are the only items out of the operating budget that would be transferred into the KTV budget. And then there are capital expenses related to new camera equipment for KTV that you put into the budget last year, and that would also be used for KTV. Beyond that, there would be no additional funding, and there would be no further reduction of funding to the IT department. I think one of the best things we're going to be able to get out of this is that we're actually going to be able to place leadership in that department. One of the great pleasures I had in working in Jefferson Parish was to have the chance to meet this lady sitting next to me who took Jefferson Parish TV from sort of a crawl and pictures of elected officials to a really dynamic and useful tool. We have dedicated resources. They're called PEG funds, which is Public Education and Government. It's in connection with the FCC requires or allows us to collect up to 5% on certain franchises. Those funds can only be spent in Kenner and only be spent in Kenner on KTV. What will happen now with this transition is that we will have two employees in that department. One will be a director or an assistant director, and one will be continue to be a she has the technical, what is his title? Director. No, the other person that's still there. editor. And then Chris will serve in the capacity as the interim director of that department. I think we'll be able to maximize her resources and the information and just her experience in having made this transition. On top of that, by having a director, we'll have a leader in the department who will be able to focus their energy on that particular department, and there are a number of grants I think we're going to be looking at right off the bat from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the Foundation for Technology Education, and John S. and James L. Knight Foundation. All three have grants for just government. I mean, they have multiple grants, but they have grants specific to governmental television. So we have a good product here with KTV, but there's an opportunity to do so much more, and we think that this is the time. This is the opportunity, and so we would ask at this point that you allow us to spin those two unrelated departments out into two separate departments.
Thank you. Anything else from the administration on this? Okay. Just kind of following along the same lines, you know, I just reiterate last year we experienced similar when I was serving as acting mayor, and I presented to the council at that time the need to take the Office of Emergency Management and create a Department of Emergency Management. It does open the doors to many, many more grants that were applied since then and have been awarded. So I see this as the same avenue. As you mentioned, there are FCC as well as other grants that can be awarded, but they look at, does the city have the commitment and dedication to use those funds and use them properly if you have a dedicated department that shows that dedication. So I strongly believe that it does work, it has worked, and will work. So at this time, I'll yield to any other council members. Thank you.
And I just had a couple of questions on that. As far as the grants are concerned, is it,
I'm sorry, Councilman Reno had his light on.
oh, go ahead, I'm
could
sorry.
you-
Yeah, Councilman Reyna, go ahead.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Foshee, how much are we spending annually in salaries in that department right now?
Currently, for the two employees who perform KTV functions, that's these two right here, it's $133,000 before benefits.
Full benefit?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And in establishing this as a department with a director, that director will not be civil service. However, any other employees in that department would fall under the civil service classification.
The remaining employee, once the one that retires, is civil service now, and he'll remain civil service. If a director is brought in, that director will be non-civil service.
Okay. I guess I can't really, I don't know if I can ask this question or not. The new hire for the director's position will be at a salary equal to or less than what we currently spend?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That was my only question. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. And I had a couple of questions. As far as the grants are concerned,
Yes, sir.
is it possible that these grants are going to bring money revenues to Kenner on behalf of our KTV?
Absolutely.
And what are we looking at? What type of grants? Can you
Well,
go into those a little bit?
Because of the type of station we have, it would largely be, well, there'd be a number of things. One is education, so we can partner with local schools. We can partner with colleges that want to have that have programs that want to teach people how to broadcast. You know, we can participate in helping train new people in that field. So education goes all the way from the level of programming something similar to Sesame Street all the way up to providing college classes online. We can do that. In addition to that, the government portion of it is for the purpose of being able to provide additional information to the public about what goes on in government, keeping them apprised of what we're doing. So the types of grants that we would get would be for the purpose of providing those types of resources. Some of it could be matching funds for us to be able to get other resources. So it's hard to say the dollar amount or the specifics. Sometimes there'll be a grant that says, you know, we're giving out grant money for people who want to put out together a program for ABC. We then sit down and say, is this something we want to do? Is this something we have the feasibility to do? Other times, we would go to them with a project. In particular, the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation provides large amount grants, I mean, large numbers, if you can go and establish for multi-year. So we could put together like a 3-year program for developing a certain type of a program. It's in its infancy right now. I know what this looks like because I saw her do it before. I mean, it's just an amazing thing. So I'm hoping that we get the opportunity to do this, because then with these grant funds, we can create a more dynamic and more useful tool for the city and for the citizens and for the schools, and basically it's our TV station. It's for us to provide benefits to the community and solely for the community's purposes.
And if this legislation passes, if not, then are we hindered? if
Well,
we don't
it's more
pass it?
difficult right now. We don't really have. Well, we don't have resources, but we also don't have that type of position or function within that department. We have 2 very wonderful employees who provide technical service, but we don't have anyone who can serve in a leadership capacity, who can actually go out and market the city for the purpose of acquiring these funds.
Is Jefferson Parish able to get grants for this type of activity?
Yes, they are. Now, their PEG funding is substantially higher than ours, so they really don't need to go after it, but they qualify just like we do.
Okay, great, thank you.
Councilman DeFranchis?
Now it is, thank you. I just wanted to mention, we are going to have a vacuum if we don't do something as when one of our employees does leave. And as you mentioned, they were both civil service at this time. But I also want to thank Ms. Chris Fortunato, because she's bringing her expertise as an interim director of this new department, and she certainly has the expertise and has shown herself to be beyond proficient in bringing Jefferson Parish up to the standard it is now. And she's doing it at no additional cost to the city. She's not getting extra funding. She's not getting extra salary. She's doing it because she cares about the city and wants that department to succeed. So I wanted to personally thank you for stepping in that position and making sure that we move forward till we, at some time in the future, do get a permanent director. So thank you for that.
Councilman Segur to close.
Mr. President, you do have some members of the public who want to speak.
Well, I think he's got to close first, correct?
No,
Okay, all right, Mr. Brown, if you will, state your name and your address.
Thank you. Richard Brown, 824 Sessions Lane, Kenner, and I'm also president of Citizens for a Better Kenner, and I'm appearing here in my capacity as president of Citizens for a Better Kenner, and also individually. And we oppose this ordinance for several reasons. First off, we can't see creating a new department out of what is basically a 2-man operation. The mayor, perhaps with good intentions, I don't know, has already created several new departments, some of them very small. We have been systematically eviscerating our Kenner civil service that many of us worked very hard for, and replacing or reclassifying civil service employees as non-civil service, as exempt. They are becoming mayoral or political appointees. That trend concerns us, and it concerns us especially for what might happen in the future with future mayors. We don't have any reason to believe that Mayor Zahn intends to misuse this, but it is creating an army of political appointees at the cost of civil service personnel. It wasn't but a few years ago that Kenner did like other cities are doing and consolidated departments, and we put KTV under the IT department, which seems like a logical fit for it because it is technical in nature. I think we can still get grants anyway, whether it's a separate department or not. I did not know until just now that apparently Chris Fortunato is willing to serve as the director at no additional salary, but that's not going to go on forever. There's also the question that I have heard expressed to me, and a lot of this came from our members who I contacted and who a couple of our other board members contacted. There's concern about the mayor having such direct control of what gets broadcast over KTV. As it is now, there's some degree of insulation there. it'll never be fully insulated from the mayor's office, but as it is now, there's a couple of degrees of separation. We just think this is a bad move. We oppose this. We urge the council to vote against this proposal, or perhaps defer it. Perhaps it needs more study. But I've studied it. Some of our other members have studied it. We simply see no reason to create a new two-man department that's transforming 2 civil service employees into political appointees. We just think it's a bad move.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Mayor Zahn, would you like to make an address at this point?
Yeah, just some of the comments, and I know Mr. Brown didn't really direct them toward me. He directed them maybe to future mayors, but I think toward the end, he was worried about me controlling and I guess being Hitler over KTV. In the last 11 months, I don't think I have been. I think KTV has been open to each and every one of you all. KTV has been very informative. I don't think there's been an administration that's been as much on Facebook, social media, and next door neighbor. And I don't think anything's been controlled politically by me, Mr. Brown, on social media. Would you agree? Oh, he left. Okay. Well, I'm gonna answer that question. It hasn't. And on KTV, it hasn't been any type of political stance. I think I've been on KTV for one interview since I've been here to only talk about Freedom Fest on Jeff Corrier's show. The next time we went on KTV, I believe I was joined not by Councilwoman Hand because she wasn't here yet, but by the majority of the council and the chief about the hurricane that we were going to experience, one of the ones that we were expecting a big impact from. So we've used KTV, yeah, we're guilty. We've used KTV to inform the public. We're going to continue to be guilty of that. We're going to continue to inform the public and make sure that the public knows what's going on. By increasing KTV into a department, and the departments that I've created, just like I want to create KTV as a department, has been internal auditor. I think the city's pretty happy with that. And it also has been general services. Have any of you all had a problem with general services? Thank you. General services has been an asset to the city of Kenner. So the departments that we've increased have helped the city of Kenner. The grants will not be possible. I mean, maybe Mr. Brown thinks he knows something that I don't. I don't know. I'm not going to disagree with him. But I'm going to say this. We have to have the department to get the grants. At the Kenner Business Association luncheon today, I preached about how we have done all these things. I didn't say me. I said we have done these things. And I started off talking about the administration that I put together. I gave credit to past administrations. But I also talked about what I brought together with Chris Fortunato and Deborah Foshee. Parish, state, and federal experience. Look, all of you up there, nobody's a PR person, okay? Y'all all have your different traits and qualities, and so do I. Chris Fortunato has the ability to do that and save us some money right now. As we get the grants in, we can not cost the taxpayers anything and direct those grants to continue to enforce KTV as a department and make sure that the people of Kenner know what's going on in the city of Kenner. Jefferson Parish's public information channel compared to ours, it's superior. I'm trying to make ours even better. Probably will be just as good as Jefferson Parish. I'd like it to be better, but it'll probably be just as good. And if y'all haven't ventured down to KTV yet lately, and maybe Mr. Brown needs to go with me and we'll take a little field trip this next week, look at KTV. I'm not being ugly, but it needs some help. I want to get some grants. The comment about IT, Jay Sprague, IT director, has bluntly said, I know nothing about KTV. What are we going to do with IT director that knows nothing about KTV? He does a great job for IT, and that's where he belongs. If past administrations haven't seen the need for this, or maybe they did and they just didn't want to go through this, what I'm going through right now, I get it. I don't know. I'm going to ask. I'm going to do those things that others won't do. I will come out there and say, look, you want to say they'll make political appointments? I don't know how a political appointment gets created down by KTV by doing this. We have many departments that I don't call them political appointments. I call them choosing the best people for those jobs. Most of the people that are still in the city of Kenner are people that were chosen back in 2006 that I've kept. If they're not here, they've chosen to leave. Some have to be let go, but there were some problems, and we've proven where the problems were. We will continue to ask the council for the departments that we need to make sure that the constituents have what they need. You cannot keep the unrelated functions together, and that's what's been done before by past administrations. Maybe they didn't want to do what I'm doing, I don't know, but the unrelated functions need to be separated, and that's what we're trying to do here tonight. I would urge the council to think about it. All of you are welcome to go onto KTV, not for political reasons, but to inform the public. That's been offered to you all before. Like I said, it is open to everyone, and like I've said, I have not used it. I have not used it politically. I will not do it. You know, if we want to talk about being used politically, the mayor that probably created it did have a political intention. This mayor and mayors since him have not had that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Teft, if you will, name and address.
My name is Greg Taft. I live at 3720 West Loyola Drive. First of all, let me say that I understand. I'm actually the same as Mr. Brown, my feelings. But I think there's another way to do it. First of all, is it Ms. Fontenot? Am I saying that right? Fortunato, I'm sorry. If Ms. Fortunato wants to or can turn that around, I don't know why we couldn't have that instead of reporting to IT, have it report directly to Ms. Fortunato, and by it being, it's considered a division or a sub-department, you would still or should still be able to get the grants that you're talking about that you need in order for it to grow. In business, you don't create a department of two people, because two people in a department, there is really no department. That's in business. In fact, even in business, you can't even have a manager in it unless you have 3 employees. That's salary. Now, that being said, this is not a business, but I think you can look at the principle behind it, and I think a move over, because I think if we have someone available that's willing to take it on for right now, I think that would be great. And I think if it grew to the point where it needed more people, then I could see the need down the road. So what I'm saying here is I see it as either make it a sub-department for Ms. Fontanelli, I'm sorry.
Fortunato.
Or
Fortunato.
what you can do is defer it to find out if you have a sub-department that it would still be qualified for the grants that are needed. I don't know, because I don't know how the grants work. But I know in business, they understand that just because I have an IT department, like for example, when I was with a company, I was responsible for inventory control, and I was responsible for IT. Now, that was a pretty big job. It can be done. But we have, from I understand, someone that's an expert that can build it like they did Jefferson. But I think creating another department is not really the answer.
Mr. Teff, you got a cheerleader over here, as every time you say that, Ms. Fortunato says, yes, yes, I would love to do that. She would love to have these employees reporting to her rather than IT. I do have to let you know, though, I think that would not meet Mr. Brown's concerns, because anyone who would report directly to Ms. Fortunato would have to be in the mayor's office, and then by definition, they would both be exempt. So we'd have a civil servant who would actually lose his civil service status, and we don't want that to happen.
Oh, so once it goes into administration?
Yes, sir. I mean, once it's in the mayor's office, and she's in the mayor's office. So the other thing that you brought up about the application for the grants, basically when you apply for these grants, the person who signs them has to certify that they know that everything in that grant application is accurate, everything you've presented about the department. While what you're saying is correct, like Chris could sign those, we can't, the person who's the director of this department, who's the person who would have to sign them, does not have the knowledge to be able to certify those things are correct. So I feel uncomfortable trying to put him in that position. He feels uncomfortable in that position. Again, he's not here this evening. His mother passed away. I think he would have been here. That would have helped a lot, I think, for him to step up to the mic and explain to you why he thinks this deserves to be in a separate department. But yes, Ms. Fortunato was like about to cheer for you that, yay, move them into my department, but I'm afraid we'd end up causing a bigger problem for civil service if we did that.
Thank you, Mr. Teff. Your time is up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councilman Segura to close.
Testing, okay. Yes, to close, I would like to first start off with a comment that says, and I'm going to date myself a little. Not that I'm the oldest one up here, but I have been around a long time. Sorry. No offense. In 1970, it was a joke, Mr. Frances, please. In 1974, as an employee of the city of Kenner, when this charter was put in a place, the wisdom at the time, we only had several, I don't even remember the exact number, but we had a finance department, we had probably a public works, and then a recreation. Since that time of 74, you have seen additional departments have been added. As we, Mayor, mentioned internal auditor, general services, certainly purchasing, personnel, fleet management. The needs of this city do grow and do require more direct attention to the speciality that they offer. So that is what's important for us to consider when we look at agreeing to the mayor's request for creating a department. Is there a need, and is there a great effect going to come from it? And I think from the information that they've given us relative to that, I certainly believe that there will be. And as also, as I said earlier, you know, when the Office of Emergency Management was changed to a Department of Emergency Management, I see Mr. Doug Dote's not here, otherwise I would only ask him a question. He's a one-man department, but he's done wonderful with getting us hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants since that took place. Because being the director, he now has that leadership and the expertise to go to Department of the State's Homeland Security, the federal government, and present himself as the director of emergency management and why he needs grant monies to do things. And we've been the benefit of that. So for what it took to create that department, I don't have the exact dollars, but I know we probably generated several hundreds, thousands of dollars in grant money that has benefited the city. I know our public works and building, I wish he was here to be more specific, but the shutters, the elevators, the whole EOC management came with those grants that he was able to go out and get. So I appreciate, as Ms. Fauché said, that with the experience that Ms. Fortunata will bring from her capacity in broadcasting experience and that will give the leadership to allow the city to go after PEG grants, what other educational grants, FCC grants, and get us a TV station that can grow and be more productive. I have asked back when another IT director was overseeing K76 was, what's going to take for us to get a live transmission of this council meeting through K76 like the parish does? And the IT director was similar to what the mayor or Ms. Fortunata, Ms. Fauché said, or the IT director now doesn't have that great experience in television. They're great in computers and telephones, which are now IP and digital. So yeah, they can give us a lot of good advice on the technology for computers and that. But in the TV world, I take it that that's a whole different configuration of knowledge and experience. So I look to say, well, that department can then go out and get better grants to expand it, because I've asked and I'm going to continue. I want to see these meetings transmitted live. So That's where I think this can take us to start on this. It's the beginning. You just don't jump to the end by getting into it the first time. You've got to get it and work it and grow it as it needs to grow. And I'm certainly comfortable that this will do that. So with that said, I certainly urge all my council members tonight to please vote in favor of this so we can look forward to a first-class, more advanced K-76 broadcast station. Thank you.
Council members, if you could, let's attempt to manually vote one more time for me, please. Council members, please vote on item 12A. Yes, if you could hit yes. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 13 is resolutions and motions by council members. Item 13A is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Kenner, Louisiana, urging the President of the United States and the United States Congress to continue the federal historic tax credit and to otherwise provide for respect thereto. I have a motion by Councilmember DeFrances, seconded by Councilmember Wilmot. Councilman DeFrances,
Mr. President?
you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. You know, I hate redundancy, but this is something that's very important and close to my heart. The Kenner High School is in the Historical National Registry, and I've got to give Jeannie Black a lot of the credit for that. Her heart was there in making sure that that actually took place. Mayor Zahn, I believe you were still here when that took place. Am I correct? And you know what a wonderful, wonderful thing that was. It's probably the most beautiful building, in my opinion, in South Kenner. And it would have been an absolute crime if we had not done something to make sure that it continued to be in South Kenner and not have to be demolished because of the condition that it was in and was continuing to deteriorate. So by doing that, we were eligible for a lot of grants from the federal government. And we've been working on some, and we recently got one. We received one recently, and I was absolutely delighted to mention it at the last council meeting, and I'll mention it again, that we're very proud to have gotten that grant. We thank Michael Ince for doing that. And now we can secure the building so it doesn't continue to deteriorate. And this is another step in moving forward to get more grants to make sure we bring that building back and that we put it into use, because it would be an absolute sin to allow it to continue to deteriorate and sit there vacant. So hopefully we'll move forward, and it will be a shining glory for all of the people of Kenner in South Kenner. Thank you.
Okay. Council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0.
Next,
Item 14 is items removed from the consent agenda. We have none. Item 15 is acceptance of contracts and similar matters approved by the mayor. Item 15A is summary ordinance number 12,309, an ordinance authorizing the purchase of microcomputers, peripherals, software, and related services from Microsoft Corporation under State of Louisiana contract number 4400008025, master agreement number NWNC-119, on an as-needed basis not to exceed $150,000 per year for all city departments, including the Kenner Police Department. I have a motion by Councilmember Segura and seconded by Councilmember Hand. Council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0.
Next, Madam Clerk.
Item 15B is summary ordinance number 12,310, an ordinance approving an agreement between the Louisiana Department of Transportation and the Development and the City of Kenner for pedestrian improvements and additional sidewalks in the vicinity of Kenner City Park under the Safe Routes to School Grant and the Safe Routes to Public Places Grant, state project number H.012236.6, federal project number H012236. I have a motion by Councilmember Hand, seconded by Councilmember DeFrances.
Madam Clerk, Councilman Ham would like to make an opening statement.
Okay. Let me put your mic on, ma'am. Go ahead.
Thank you. First, I would like to thank Mike Gaines for applying for this grant. This would provide a sidewalk from on Loyola around Kenner City Park to Vintage towards the fire station. And this is 100% funded by this grant. and I would appreciate you guys to vote for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Reyno would like to speak.
Will?
Thank you,
Councilman
Mr.
Reyno?
President. This grant was applied for a few years back. Is that correct, Mr. Entz?
Yes, sir, a portion of it was. So this is a superseding agreement between a couple different grants with DOTD.
So the original grant, do you remember the year? Was it 2013? Is my memory correct?
Well, it's the same title grant. So the 2013 grant was actually only for programming portions of it. So you can apply under Safe Routes to School for non-infrastructure portion as well as an infrastructure portion.
Okay, so what is the time frame when you apply for a grant to you actually see? I just would like to educate the public.
Right, so the actual portion of the sidewalks that will cover the perimeter of City Park is actually a 2015 Safe Routes to School grant.
Okay.
It does take some time to get the contract from DOTD for that program itself. DOTD has actually hired a consultant to get projects out the door quicker for that. So what we decided to do to make it easier on our end and for DOTD and their consultant was to combine the two programs, meaning the 2015 Safe Routes to School grant with the 2017 Safe Routes to Public Places grant. Okay. Both are 100% federal.
And do we have any other grants like this in the works right now? Anything that's going to be up and coming besides the ones that we have now?
Right, so these two grants combined are going to include the sidewalks surrounding City Park's perimeter as well as the north side of Vintage Drive going from Loyola to West Loyola and including both intersections to make them ADA compliant, so more pedestrian friendly. But we will be applying in February for another portion, which is $350,000, which is also another 100% federal program grant, which will connect all the sidewalks across the street.
But where the new school is being built?
Correct.
Okay.
We couldn't originally apply for that because there was no sidewalks connecting it to the perimeter of that property.
Right. And the time frame for that to come to fruition where we actually have those sidewalks installed, we're talking a few years, though?
Right. We're currently in design right now.
Okay.
They should move fairly quickly. I don't want to overspeak on that, but being that they have hired a consultant on it, it is moving much quicker than past experiences with this.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that the people that have their children in the Kenner Discovery School that will be going to school there understand that it is up and coming, but it is going to take a while before it gets there.
Right.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate that update. Thank you, Mr. President.
Council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0.
Next, Madam Clerk.
Item 15C is a resolution approving change order number 1 to the contract with TL Hawk LLC dated July 26, 2017 regarding the demolition of wastewater treatment plant number 2, increasing the contract amount by $118,275.97 and the construction time by 7 calendar days. I have a motion by Councilmember Klein, seconded by Councilmember DeFrances. Councilman DeFrances, you have the
Does Councilman Klein wish to open on it? Thank you, Councilman Klein. I wanted to speak about it because I was the District 4 councilman when we had more problems with this particular area than people probably realize. We've had some incidents where a young man decided his little sister shouldn't be following him and locked her in one of the buildings. And a wonderful lady walking along the canal called my office, and we were able to get someone out there to make sure that the little girl got back home safely. We've had young children go in there and have geysers come up because they would turn the water on. During a past administration, we secured the whole area, but you know with children, when they make up their minds and there's an attractive nuisance, they have a tendency to go there and see what kind of mischief they can actually bring about. And so this has been a problem for a long time. We aren't using that particular waste treatment plant, and again, we've had numerous incidents that we've had to address. I'd like to ask our Public Works Director to explain a little bit of what this actually entails and why we also have the increase, if you don't mind.
Yes, Councilwoman, the increase is has to do with with replacing some electrical equipment there as a result of a lightning strike. We had a contractor on site who's actually responsible for the demolition, but since he was there, he was able to take care of these repairs for us. So actually, it's all the same funding sources coming from the LDEQ loan number 5.
Thank you. And again, this is something that the past administration, as well as this current administration, had worked with Jose Gonzalez before he left. It was something that the people of the area were asking about. As I said, we've had so many incidents there. This is a blessing that we can move forward at this time. So thank you again to this administration, our Public Works Director for continuing to work on and getting this done. So I appreciate it on behalf of the people of the entire city, because it doesn't just affect one area, it affects District 3. We had children from that area coming. We had children from other districts coming in as well. So this is not just a District 4 project, and I want to make that very, very clear. It's a project that will benefit the entire city of Kenner. So thank you very much to everyone concerned. Thank you, Councilman Klein, for letting me open on it.
And now it's coming to fruition. So we appreciate it. I would appreciate it if I can have the support of my fellow councilmen to have this upgrade done as a result of the lightning strike. So we're trying to get this project finished as soon as we can. Everybody's working hard on it. I appreciate your support.
Councilman Klein, Councilman Reno had his light on. Will you allow him to speak?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Tom, I just wanted to clarify, this entire increase, this $118,275 increase, all of it is based on the fact that there was a lightning strike. This is not any additional other work. It was all caused by that lightning strike that affected the electrical, correct?
Yes, sir. It's a lightning strike that affected the transfer station that's there now.
Okay. I just wanted the public to know that, this wasn't any additional work. This wasn't, adding to the base contract. Had we not had the lightning strike, we wouldn't even be looking at this ordinance right now.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Council members, please vote. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0. Item 15D is a resolution approving amendment number 2 to the agreement with Rotolo Consultants Incorporated, doing business as RCI, for the Lake Town Median Landscape Maintenance Program, increasing the agreement cap by $30,547 to $122,188, and to extend the contract time by 1 calendar year. Mr. Chairman, I've received a request this evening for a one-meeting deferral. I have a motion by Councilmember Reno, seconded by Councilmember DeFranchis, for a one-meeting deferral. Council members, if you could, please vote on a one-meeting deferral. Mr. Chairman, motion passes 6-0 for a one-meeting deferral. Item 16 is ordinances and resolutions in summary for first reading. Item 16A is a resolution amending Rule 8, special meetings of the Council of the Rules of Organization, Business, Order, and Procedure of the Council of the City of Kenner. Item 16B is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from W.J. Blocher Company, LLC, for an annual contract to supply labor only for electrical work in accordance with seal bid number 17-6408, and an amount not to exceed $300,000 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16C is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from Site 1 Landscape Supply for an annual contract to supply white field marking paint to be used at various recreation facilities in accordance with letter bid number 17-1564, and an amount not to exceed $20,000 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16D is an ordinance accepting the lowest responsive bid received from E.H. Steger Tennis Courts Construction to furnish and install resurfacing at the Rosemary Minor Park and Splash Park Tennis Courts in accordance with letter bid number 17-1563, and an amount not to exceed $10,546 for the Department of Parks and Recreation. Item 16E is an ordinance accepting the responsive bid received from Fisher's Electric Company Incorporated in the amount of $3,368,000 for the wastewater treatment plant number 3 generator banking project in accordance with seal bid number 17-6407 for the Department of Public Works. Item 16F is an ordinance repealing in its entirety Chapter 5, Article 4, Flood Damage Prevention Ordinance of the City of Kenner Code of Ordinances, and adopting a new Chapter 5, Article 4, Flood Damage Prevention Ordinance in order to comply with the requirements of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, and to provide for related matters. Item 16G is an ordinance amending the 2017-2018 capital budget to allocate $396,500 from the sale of property to capital accounts in the Fire Department, Police Department, and Loss Fund. Item 17 is reports from the council and our special committees. I have none. Item 18 is new business. I have none. Item 19 is unfinished business and motions to reconsider or remove from a tabled position. I have none. Item 20 is persons wishing to address the council on special subject matters.
Mr. Greg Teff, do you wish to address the audience? The council? And Mr. Richard Brown? Okay, thank you. No public comment.
No further business. If I can get a motion in a second to adjourn?
Excuse me, please.
Mr. Klein, Councilman Klein, you have the
Councilman Klein, you can speak.
microphone.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. President. On the weekend of November 24th through 26th, which is a Friday through a Sunday, they'll have a brunch at Esplanade Mall for the children. It's a pet photo night. It's pop-ups. It's a holiday brunch with Snow Queen and his friends, or her friends, and that'll be at the Esplanade Mall. So we'd invite everybody to come out for the holidays if they're in town and enjoy the Esplanade Mall. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman DeFrances.
I think are important. Santa will be arriving at the Esplanade Mall on Thursday, November 16th from 6 to 7:30, and will continue to be there. The children can take photos with him 7 days a week, all through that period of time from 11 to 8 p.m., and on Saturday from the morning till evening. They're also going to have snowfall there, as we used to experience in our park, and that will be, again, beginning on Thursday, the 16th through December the 30th, and it's going to be at 6 p.m. in Center Court. And I think this is important. They also have a compassionate Santa for children with special needs. And I thought that was important to let the public know. And that will be on Sunday, November the 19th, from 10 to 12. That's before the mall opens, so that children will be in a quiet environment for those children that have special needs. And once again, on Sunday, December the 3rd, from again 10 to 12. And again, as I mentioned, this is before the mall opens, so the children are in a very soft environment with no noise, and hopefully those parents that have special needs children can take advantage of it. Thank you for letting me mention that.
Thank you, Councilwoman DeFrances. And Councilwoman Han, you have the floor.
Thank you. I would also like to mention, since this is our last meeting this month, that the Saturday after Thanksgiving, November 25th, we are going to be lighting the Christmas Village at Kenner City Park Pavilion, and that's in my district, so I'm excited about that for the first time. Santa Claus will be there, coming in around 5:30. We'll have an ice skating rink, Christmas tree lot, all kind of fun things, music and everything on that day, the 25th, November 25th, 5 o'clock. Thank you.
And I'd just like to add, too, and thank you, Councilwoman Han. I'd like to add, too, I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving on behalf of the council, so enjoy. Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilwoman DeFrances? Okay. Motion to adjourn? Adjourn in second. Thank you.